Okay, guys, so today we are going to continue working with percent problems. We are going to continue doing percent of a number, finding a percent of a number. That is part A, doing the same way, and then I'm going to show you a new way. And then we're going to learn a new type of percent problem. It's kind of a backwards percent of a number that I'll explain in just a second. But the first thing I want you to know is right here, we're going to learn the word proportion. And a proportion is two equal ratios. So last unit we learned about ratios. We know a ratio is like a fraction, but it compares two different things. Okay, so a proportion would be two ratios that are equal to each other. So right here, this is a very important proportion. Percent over 100 equals part over whole, or is over of. Now, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense yet, but just box that in. Highlight it something so when we come back to it, you'll know that this is important. So the first part, percent of a number, is what we've done for the past couple days, okay? We changed the percent to a decimal, so 0.3. We learned that of means times 60, and we get 18. So 30% of 60 is 18, which makes sense because we've learned that 10% is 6. And then if we want 30%, 6 times 3 is 18. Okay, now there's a new way to do this, and you might want to continue doing it this way, or you might, when we start getting into word problems more, prefer this way. So the way we do it this way is we use a proportion. Okay, we use this setup. We put our percent over 100, so 30%, 30 over 100, which we know percents are out of 100, is equal to part over whole. So when it says 30% of 60, that's our whole, okay? Or if that helps you, the word of is beside it. So that whole or of goes on the bottom. So I'm going to put 60 on the bottom. And I'm trying to figure out the number that goes on top. What out of 60 is equal to 30%? Okay? And so sometimes we've learned that we can divide by 100 to get something, but there's no way we can go straight from 100 to 60 without scaling like we learned last unit. So the other way you could do it is cross multiply. Take the top times 60, 30 times 60, and we get 1,800. And then we divide it by the other number. So we take the top times the bottom, get 1,800, and divide it by 100, and we get 18 that way. Okay, we're cross multiplying. 30 times 60 is 1,800, divided by the other number and get 18. Okay, so this way will work with either type of problem. And so the next is the new type of percent problem, the backwards percent of a number. Okay, so number one says 18 is 30% of what number? It's not telling us to find 30% of something. It's saying 18 is 30% of what number? Okay, so one way you could do it is using an equation. An equation is just you write down word for word what those words mean. So 18 is, in math, is means equals. Okay, and then 30% we write down, but we know we don't use 30%, we use our decimal, 0.3 or 0.30. We learned that of means times. What number? We're trying to figure that out. Okay, and so then to solve that, we got to figure out what times 0.30 equals 18. So we just work backwards. Instead of multiplying, we would take 18 divided by 0.30. Okay, and in your calculator, if you take 18 divided by 0.3 or 0.30, we get 60. So that means that 18 out of 60 is equal to 30%. So if I try 18 divided by 60, I do get 0.3, which we know is 30%, or 30 out of 100. Okay, so that's the equation way. The other way is if you want to use this proportion. You can use this proportion for percent of a number or the backwards percent of a number. So I put my percent over 100, so 30% over 100 equals part over whole, or is over of. And right here it says 18 is, so that's going to go on top. And I'm trying to figure out 18 is 30% of what number? The whole, or of what number? So I'm trying to figure out this. Okay, so again, we solve it by cross multiplying. 100 times 18 is 1,800, and then we divide it by the other number, divided by 30, and we get 60 that way. Now I know this is a little new. We're going to be doing this a lot, okay? Percent of a number is not new. Take your percent, change it to a decimal, multiply, or use this proportion. Backwards percent of a number is what's new. You can use an equation. 18 is equals 30%, 0.30, of means times something. What number? I used to use an n. And then we don't know, so I'm going to, the opposite of multiplying is dividing, so 18 divided by 0.30 equals 60. Or you could set it up in your proportion problem. So on the back, you have several different types of problems. So they're not really word problems yet. We're not getting into that yet. We'll do that next week. But I want to give you a few minutes, and I want you to read the problem and decide if you're finding the percent of a number or if it's a backwards percent of a number. If it's a percent of a number problem, put A. If it's a backwards percent of a number problem, put B. Okay, so right now go through and read each one and decide what you think it is and put an A or a B right here beside it.